invito qui Jedert, VODOPIVEC, TOMAŽIČ. E intanto la presento. È stata responsabile del Dipartimento di Restauro degli Archivi della Repubblica di Slovenia, è autrice di articoli nazionali e internazionali, organizzatrice di innumerevoli convegni e seminari sulla conservazione del materiale cartaceo e membranaceo, è partecipe di diversi progetti di ricerca riguardanti la conservazione e le caratteristiche del materiale cartaceo inteso per la permanenza. Dal 1990 è attiva nella formazione professionale dei conservatori e dal 1997 insegna conservazione e restauro di documenti e altri materiali grafici presso l'Università di Lubiana e Alma Mater Europea di Marburgo in Slovenia. E il titolo della sua relazione è Le strutture con assi lignee nelle collezioni slovene di manoscritti medievali. Ascoltiamo, grazie.
Grazie. No, I will speak in English.
Perfetto.
Yeah. Maybe I will mix also with Italian. Yeah. Okay. Many thanks for the invitation, and thanks to Melania and also the others. So I'm very pleased to be here, and my presentation is about board structures in Slovenian medieval manuscript collection. I was working for 39 years in the National Archives of Slovenia, but now I'm retired and I'm connected with the Alma Mater University in Maribor and the University of Ljubljana. So this research was limited only to medieval manuscripts with original bindings, with original medieval bindings. Selection was based upon the research, this selection presented today, the development of binding structure in medieval manuscripts, interaction with conservation procedures. So our objective is examining the structures, techniques, and materials in these manuscript bindings, and creating terminology, Slovenian terminology, because we need it, and also preparing the census for medieval bindings in Slovenia. Reasons for this research on medieval bindings was because the base for the book binding technique are medieval bindings, no? The oldest bindings, and then you need to know the roots, and then you can understand the later structures also. Then to understand the functioning of the book as an object, no? Because as an object in use, not a museum object that is in the showcase. And also because some types of bindings, these medieval bindings, were also used after the Middle Ages, especially in the archives, on the books in archives, archival books, let's say, no? And of course, there was no previous research in Slovenia, and because this is important also for the conservation work. Yeah. So the situation in Slovenia is that we have, I included here also all the manuscripts, also incunabulas, not only the manuscripts, so that you have the impression what is our collection today. We have about 1,000 inculabula and 35 with original bindings. And then we have 374 medieval codices, and only 179 are in the medieval binding. So there are many that were rebinded later. And then we have also limp covers and limp books bound in limp covers. But these were not included in this research, and we have in Slovenia also a Glagolitic and some Cyrillic codices, but they are later in acquisitions, and they are also not part of this subject, so they were not studied in this case. You see, these are the manuscripts that exist now in Slovenia, but as Slovenia was in the past part of the Habsburg Empire, we have a lot of manuscripts in Cunabula, also in Vienna and Graz, in Austria, no? Because after the decree of Joseph II, son of Maria Theresia, who stopped the functioning of the monasteries, all the books from libraries from these monasteries went to, first they select them for the Vienna Library, the National Library in Vienna, and then some went also to Graz, to the National Library, or that time library, and what was left remained in Slovenia. So we had much more codices in the past in Slovenia, but this is what we have now. And so we have parchment codices. So I examined just those manuscripts and the bindings, where the bindings, I suppose, that are medieval. Original, or some are also later rebindings, but they're still in this period, no? So a little less than half of them are parchment codices. So we have 3 from the late 12th century, 8 from 13th and 14th century, but the majority are from the 15th century, 15 from the beginning or late 14th century, and the 18 from the second part of the 15th century. Then the half of them, a little more than half of them, are paper codices. It's logical, more or less 15th century. So, yeah, this is the period when paper appeared in Middle Age codices. So this research was done years ago, when we didn't have so much knowledge as today. But at that time, I was looking for what exists. I studied literature and so on. And of course, I came across the Carlo Federici book, which was shown yesterday by Carlo and also by Konstantin Hulis, and then about also the book about the Legature Vaticane, and that helps me a lot to prepare the methodology. I'm sorry. But I didn't use. I adapt this methodology to our knowledge and to our situation. So it was a little too complicated for starting with in such a way, as also Professor Federici yesterday said, that then they modified this methodology and simplify it, because otherwise it is too complicated. And it was also too complicated for me. So I made a description form, which I thought that it is the best for our collection. And then, of course, when you start to write something or describe, you immediately face the terminology, no? So I started to construct some kind of terminology, Slovenian terminology, you know, because we didn't have so many expressions. And I tried to also, I translated from Italian or from English to Slovenian, so now we have a little terminology also for books and bindings. And then I, of course, I did analysis of bindings and techniques from literature and from literature and also from these originals. So I described the visible data, sketches, then I make sketches, I make also pencil rubbings of the surface of the decoration and also some other parts. And of course, I made also a lot of photographic material. Then I made a detailed description in such in a system of all these elements that consist that are important for the codex. And then I made also this was in alinee, and then I made also a longer description also with photos, of course. So this is, for example, a page. This was also published in Slovene, and so here we have this basic data about the manuscript, and then we have this systematical description, and then we have the physical condition of the codex and some also peculiarities of this codex, if exist. So these manuscripts were grouped in. I mean, I worked on base of the description which still exists, which exists in book form from 1930, done by two historians, Slovenian historians, and they grouped the manuscript according to the writing support and according to the paleographical and codicological date, and according also with some similarity of structural elements. So I used this as a base and then examined all the manuscript, and then I formed new groups which suits the needs we need. So the first group are the oldest bindings in Slovenia, then the exceptional bindings in terms of binding techniques, the bindings which are indisputed of Slovenian provenance, and bindings which are for sure of foreign provenance, and bindings with some Italian characteristics, and bindings that were rebound before the end of the 15th century, and some codices from the 15th century which were rebound in the 15th century. And then the group of extensively damaged codices, which is not a big collection, there are not so many, and also some restored codices. So we have just three, the oldest bindings. They are belonging to the Cistercian monastery in Stična, which was also examined by Professor Natasha Golob. And most of these codices are now in Vienna, but some are also in the National Library in Ljubljana, and the oldest one are also from the National Library in Ljubljana, which remain in Ljubljana and didn't went to Vienna or Graz. And then we have, maybe I need to say also that the biggest collection of medieval manuscripts in not rebound is not at the National Library in Ljubljana, but it is in the Bishop Archive of Maribor. And the reason why it is that Bishop Martin Slomšek, who lived in the 19th century, moved. He was appointed a bishop of the Levant bishop area. But as he was Slovene, he bring the place of the bishop to Maribor. And with him came also the whole library and the archive of this, how it is, bishop. Okay, I hope you understand. So we receive in Maribor, so we have now in Maribor in the bishop archive the most valuable collection of not rebound manuscripts. This is South Styria, and before at that time when Slomšek was living, this was 19th century, we were under the Habsburg Empire. So the Levant, where he moved from Levant to Maribor, this was not far, maybe less than 100 kilometers, but now today is that part in Austria, and now it is, Maribor is in Slovenia. And among these bindings is also one which was of great interest to me because it opens so well, but has not the rigid boards. But then I was looking, and luckily there is a damage, so it's possible to see that inside was not a wood board, but a leather, piece of leather, thick leather. No? So, but it has really a nice structure of the binding. So, but this is the only one which is with leather boards. No? It is a paper manuscript. And then we have also found out that some manuscripts were for sure written in Slovenia and also bound in Slovenia. With this helped me really very much Nataša Golob, who is a Slovenian codicologist, professor of art history and medieval history. And so together with her and with her help, we find out also that this, for example, this book, which belongs to the Žiče Carthusian monastery, was for sure made there. And then we have also some records about some bindings and some manuscripts that were for sure of foreign provenance, like this one on your left, which is coming from Salzburg, from the Cathedral Library, and the other one which is coming from Padova. It is a German text, but we have also the record that it is from Padova. Both are now kept in the archives of Maribor. And then we have also some bindings with Italian characteristics, and I am showing you here the binding from Padova, which was on the previous slide, and also this one, both are coming from Maribor. No? So there is really a nice collection and rich collection. And also this one, which belonged to the monastery of Santa Justina in Padova. So for this we have a record. And then we have also a very nice, small, beautiful codex manuscript, which from the 13th or beginning of 14th century, this was analyzed and confirmed by Nataša Golob, but has not the binding of that period, but has anyway a very nice binding, and this is also one of my favorite bindings because it is a small manuscript like this, but opens so well. So really a perfect binding. And this was also included because it is the binding from Middle Age time. No? So, and then we have codices from the 15th century that were rebound in the 15th century. So for this, we also have the record about this. So it is not my invention, no? And they are also coming from Maribor. This one has another cover, but then was at the end of 15th century, we don't know why, recovered by sheepskin, poor quality sheepskin, but okay, we have a record that it was bound in tannin leather, but why they change, we don't know. And then is another manuscript which is recovered, and because they extend the boards for nearly 1 centimeter, you can see here and here and here, and then they recover it. No? So they extend the wooden boards with some wood, and they need to make another cover. No? So this is also the manuscript is from 15th century, but this was on this was some rebinding. And then we have extensively damaged codices, especially antiphonars and these big musical manuscripts. And then we have 2 codices which were damaged, but they were conserved in 1949. They belong to the National Library of Ljubljana, but that person who did this work, you see, this was not a rebinding like 10 years later or 20 years, but he just reinforced those pieces which were fragile and put them, and they leave them as it is. No new spine or covering with something, no. So I think this is really something that we today we try to do similar works. But in between, we hear also yesterday that there was a period of restoration of bindings that we probably were not very proud of it. So, and there is another very important book from the Cistercian monastery in Stična, where they also made some reinforcements, but they left all the parts as they are, because a lot of manuscripts, especially those in 15th century, have these leaves, end leaves, made of old codices. So it was a habit to study this, and then they detached this. But so this was left as it is, and luckily it was also good for us. So we can see the structure of the binding. No? So for concluding, we have our majority of our bindings are Gothic bindings. We've analyzed about 10 that they have Italian characteristics. I think this is more or less logical because of the history of Slovenia. And then we have until the mid of 15th century, there are no difference between codices that were bound in paper or text block was made on, or was written on parchment or paper. But then after in the second part of 15th century, there were some differences. And of course, binding provenience cannot be established only according to the structural elements, but also we have to include also other data about this creation and location of the bindings. No? And I found out that there is not a lot of damage caused by environmental conditions, so humidity and so on, but most of them were damaged because of use. So the majority are more or less well preserved and don't need any conservation work. Of course, only these oversized volumes have some extensive damages. No? So we found out also that the most important structural elements that are defining the binding are the lacing paths, end bands, primary sewing, and end leaves, and this was confirmed also by other researchers. So it is nothing new. And I include in this presentation also some photos of the restoration of this pontifical from the second part of the 15th century from Maribor, which that time of the research was not in place. So it was found later, some years later, and it has some damage on the spine, and it is connected just with this part of the of this nerve. I'm sorry. And this was also the case of examination of this manuscript, but also we were asked to restore it, to repair it, to conserve it. No? So, and because at that time we had a series of courses with Chris Clarkson, so I asked Chris Clarkson to come and to help us with restoring this relatively complicated damage, no? Which was just on the spine. No? And so we did this successfully with him, I hope. And now it is preserved again in the library, and it is in place, so they know where it is. For concluding, findings are based on the paleographic and codicological and conservation analysis. No? And of course, we need also more research, but I hope some young conservators can, or other scholars can continue with this work. So I would like also, of course, to thank Natasha Golob, Chris Clarkson, Dr. Ziermai, Dr. Hulis, Professor Carlo Federici, Nicholas Pickwood, who helped me with articles or even with some other way of contacts. And also, I will say to thank also my directors, but especially the director which was in charge in the archives of the Republic of Slovenia at that time that I was working this research, because he really understood the need for this, being an archivist, not a conservator. So I would like to thank also somebody else, but I think these are the most important persons that I need to thank. Yeah, thank you.
Apro la discussione su questa importante ricerca che non solo ci ha presentato una panoramica delle tipologie, delle legature, ma anche delle problematiche di uno studio che è inedito, no? Che è stato costruito tutto ex novo e che ha presentato e presenta anche problemi di adattamento di metodologie, anche di terminologie. Quindi che sono un po' emersi anche ieri in filigrana in alcune relazioni, quello del modello descrittivo e della terminologia da impiegare. Bene, ci sono domande? Dov'è il microfono?
Thank you for your interesting presentation. I really enjoyed it. So there are some studies that show that when books were printed in Venice, in Glagolitic, and then exported to the Eastern Dalmatian market, they were already bound in Venice because presumably the printers did not think there were enough binders in those areas to bind the books when they arrived. So this is slightly outside of the time range you're considering here. It's mostly from the early 16th century. But is this something you found to be true about your collections as well?
You mean to be bound in Venice?
Yeah, have Venetian bindings on Glagolitic books printed in Venice in the early 16th century.
Glagolitic books are mostly from Croatia because they use Glagolitic alphabet. And yeah, but I think our bindings are more Austrian and influence. We find some elements of Italian bindings, but this is 16th century is different, no? But Middle Ages, in this collection there is no. No, I can say no Venice, really typical or evident Venetian bindings, no, but they are more German or Austrian, no, yeah.
Thank you.
Te lo chiedo in italiano, è molto facile. Tutte le cose strutturali, ma dal punto di vista della decorazione?
Dal punto di vista, from this point of view, I think that, yeah, of course, there are bindings with decoration. I didn't include in these slides, yeah, especially those from 15th century coming from Maribor, no, they are decorated, yeah, they have decoration on top, but all the others were rebound. So, and they have some decoration on top, but they were not included in this research. But we have a collection, yeah. This is published in Slovene. So there is a lot of photos, and it has also an extended English part. I included here just those elements which are more important for conservators, no? But we have, yeah.
Because it's a very important element for the provenance of the binding.
Yeah, it is.
So if you want to understand the provenance of the binding, is an element that you have to consider.
But you see, the best pieces went to Vienna and Graz, and those which are now in Maribor and were before in Levant. This was a place in today's South Austria, close to Slovenia, not far from there, and this was a remote place. So there, there was not rebinding on that manuscripts, no. So that's why they are very precious. But yeah, they have, especially the 15th century manuscripts. They have all stamps on top. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And when you speak about the rebound, you mean also for the text block? There are elements of the text block, or sometimes yes, sometimes
recovering, maybe it's a better word. But I'm not sure for this binding, this one, which I said that the small little Belgium codex, that I like it, this one, the other one, the next. So this for sure, I think was more just recovered, no? Yeah.
Thank you. Very.
Io volevo fare soltanto un'osservazione, riprendere anche qualcosa che diceva Costantino Hulis un attimo fa. L'osservazione era, volevo complimentarmi per la chiarezza con la quale avete impostato questo lavoro, cioè un lavoro impostato molto bene, molto chiaramente, che fa capire subito dove volete arrivare, cioè l'analisi dell'oggetto, della legatura come prodotto artigianale, quindi in cui quella che io definisco archeologia del libro viene applicata praticamente con la massima estensione. Quindi per questo volevo fare i miei complimenti. E poi volevo, la domanda, l'altra osservazione era, Costantino ha parlato dell'importanza della decorazione delle coperte, ma in realtà questo riguarda soltanto la fine del Medioevo, perché come abbiamo visto prima con la relazione di Bertrand e Brix, le legature medievali antecedenti al XIV secolo sono tutte senza decorazione. Quindi questo discorso della decorazione funziona per l'ultima parte del Medioevo. E poi naturalmente per la parte post-medievale, dove le coperte decorate si diffondono, diventano una cosa normale. Quindi praticamente gli elementi di datazione e localizzazione delle legature medievali per gran parte del Medioevo si basano soltanto sull'analisi archeologica delle legature, non sull'analisi delle decorazioni, fatte salve alcune legature carolingie che hanno qualche piccola decorazione, ma insomma trascurabile tutto sommato, perché non statisticamente servono a poco. E la domanda invece che volevo fare a te, Jedert, è soprattutto a che punto siete del lavoro? Dove siete arrivati? A che punto state, questo censimento delle legature medievali slovene, a che punto è e che cosa si farà dei risultati? Nel senso, verranno messi online tutto quello che verrà fuori? Grazie.
Come ho detto, è pubblicata, questo lavoro è pubblicato in sloveno, in un libro abbastanza. Thanks also to our director that he gave the money for this, but it is not translated in English now, of course, because it would be too expensive. And I had no time for do it. Yeah, but we are at the point that we need this for our restoration work as a base, because the majority of, I mean, more or less all of these codices, they didn't need any repair and any conservation. But we have a lot of other material, book material, in archives, in libraries that need repair. But with this research, we have somehow some knowledge that we needed in Slovenia. And now I think also on this research helps restorers and also some other rare people in Slovenia to understand the book. And my wish was, when I finish this, to extend this on archival books. And I hope this will be in the future done. No, because in archives, no, that's why I also asked yesterday, no, we were hearing just about library material, no, but In archives, there are also a lot of books, and this is not well known. And these archival books have some specifics, and have it is more or less the continuation of the medieval type of bindings. No, we can find also some elements even in 18th, 19th century archival bindings. No, so this is where we are.
So yeah, you was talking about book binding made for sure in Slovenia.
Yeah.
Do you have any information concerning book binders in Middle Age, or is it an assumption on the basis?
This is an assumption of Natasha Golob, who studied all these manuscripts, and from the codicological point of view, from the historical point of view, and that binding I was showing is coming from a Carthusian monastery in Žiče, which was at that time one of the biggest library, not only in Slovenia, but in that area. So where all these books are today, we don't know. But she said that for sure must be there also a scriptorium, and also they were also binding books. No? And that binding, I mean, it is super binding, but it is not, you see, it is nothing special, we say, but shows that the person who did this binding was, this is not an ordinary binding, but it shows some, and also the opening of this book shows that was done by somebody who knew the work. No? Yeah. Aha, yeah, and we have the proof. Yeah, now I remember. And the proof is this: the end leaves of on this binding are part of an old codices from this scriptorium. So, yeah. So, I mean, these are things that, without the help of a codicologist, is for us conservators, and even me, that I was not trained, even not as a conservator, but I am a chemist, you know. So, without the knowledge of paleologists and codicologists, we need to collaborate. No, yeah, absolutely.
Hello, my name is Miriam Rampazzo, and I am a book conservator and a PhD student at the University of the Arts, London. So, as a book conservator, I find very interesting observing the repairs that sometimes are visible on the wooden boards of the manuscripts. So you mentioned that some alterations were carried out in the past. For example, that some wooden boards were extended, maybe to create some squares, to add some squares to the book block, to the boards. So I wonder if you would like to share some other repairs that were made in the past, maybe on broken wooden boards or cracked wooden boards that you maybe found.
Yeah, here you can see one repair on the wooden board.
Right, yeah, especially
I mean,
in the 16th century.
Yeah, you see, these are the repairs that are also, we have the evidence, the record, but more or less they are in this condition, no? Of course, this antiphonar was restored, and we have also an article about the restoration of this one. Yeah, but all the others are in the shape as they are, and there is no vital damage, and so there is no need to some repair. Yeah. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I would just like to underline what you have said, Jedert, about the importance of including research in archives as well as in libraries, and this division between the two is very unfortunate, because so many of the archival bindings were used by early modern European binders for their inexpensive bindings on printed books, and we really don't know where they were coming from, because we don't have research in archives. So I would like to support you in your attempt to bring the archives into this equation, because it is such an important part of bookbinding. And there are huge collections of archives which are unknown to the library world. And I think it's really important to say that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
archives are for sure neglected, no? And museums and libraries are popular, everybody knows about, but I'm looking with another eyes, no? I am looking from the eyes of course, of a conservator, but we were working also for libraries and museums, and I know that in the archives we have really a lot of material. And in the museum they say, oh, we have 1,000 items. Yeah, but I said, we have 1,000 items in 2 meters shelf, no? So, yeah, the importance of archives is neglected, yeah, for sure.
Well, thank you for your attempt to bridge the gap. Okay.
Thank you.
Grazie ancora.